You know, every single time you step onto a plane, you're walking into a world that's been built on more than a century of amazing technology, strict regulations, and just plain human expertise. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see what it really takes to get you and that plane safely into the air. And our journey is going to start with the people you see on every single flight.
So let's start with the most visible people, the cabin crew. When you think of a flight attendant, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it the drink cart? The meal service, maybe getting you an extra pillow? And look, that's what most of us think, right? But it's barely scratching the surface of what they actually do.
On the outside, yeah, it totally looks like a customer service job. But the real reason they are on that plane, their primary legally required role, has absolutely nothing to do with hospitality. Their number one job above everything else is your safety and security. That drink service, that's actually their secondary duty. All right, so here's the game plan. We're going to start with how the crew's job has changed over time. Then we'll look at the incredible machines they fly on. After that, we'll uncover the invisible rulebook that governs every single move they make. And finally, we'll look at the huge team on the ground that makes it all happen.
Okay, let's dive right in with the crew themselves, because their role has gone through a massive transformation.
Believe it or not, the very first cabin attendant, a guy named Heinrich Kubis, wasn't on a plane at all. He worked on German airships way back in 1912, but the job as we kind of know it today really kicked off in 1930 with Ellen Church. And get this, she was a registered nurse. So why a nurse? Well, it's pretty simple actually. Early flights were really bumpy, and pretty much everyone got airsick. It took until the 1950s for regulators to officially say, hey, these people are vital in an emergency, cementing their role as safety professionals first and foremost.
And you won't believe the job requirements back then. This quote from 1936 says it all. I mean, can you imagine? Must be petite, with a specific weight and height range. It just goes to show how much the focus was on appearance, a total world away from today's focus on competence and critical skills.
So here's the bottom line, the most important takeaway about the modern crew. Their job is defined by that primary duty. These are highly trained professionals who can handle everything from a heart attack at 35,000 feet to a full-blown emergency evacuation. The food and drinks are nice, for sure, but that service will always come second to getting the flight from A to B safely.
Now, of course, the crew's job didn't just change on its own. It had to because the planes themselves were going through this incredible, mind-blowing revolution. The leap in technology has been just staggering.
Let's hop in a time machine back to 1933. The Boeing 247 was a legit marvel, one of the first modern airliners. Its total capacity? Just 10 passengers. That's it, 10 people.
Okay, now let's fast forward to today. The Airbus A380 can carry up to 853 people. I mean, think about that. That's not just a little bigger, that is a complete world-changing transformation. We're talking about an 85 times increase in scale. So how on earth did we make that jump? It was through a series of total game changers. In 1940, the pressurized cabin was introduced, letting planes fly way up high above all the bad weather. Then boom, the jet age arrives, and suddenly travel times are cut in half. Each of these steps wasn't just an upgrade. It was a fundamental shift that made flying safer, faster, and available to way more people.
And that brings us to today, where the big revolution is all about sustainability. The entire aviation industry has this massive, ambitious goal to hit net zero carbon emissions by the year 2050, and they're planning to do it with new tech, smarter operations, and better fuels.
Okay, so we've got these amazing people and these incredible flying machines. But what's the glue holding this whole thing together safely? Well, it's this complex, invisible rulebook that governs every single aspect of every single flight.
It might look like a bunch of acronyms, but it's actually a pretty logical system. Think of it like a pyramid. At the very top, you have a UN agency called ICAO that sets the big global safety standards for everyone. Then in the middle, industry groups like IATA help all the airlines work together. And at the base, each country has its own authority, like the FAA in the United States, that actually enforces the rules and gives an airline its license to fly.
And all of those rules from all those layers get boiled down into one incredibly important document, the Operations Manual. You can seriously think of this thing as the airline's Bible. It's a massive book approved by the government that details exactly what a crew member must do in any situation, from the routine to the absolute worst-case scenario. It is the final word on board.
All right, we're at our final piece of the puzzle. Because the crew you see in the air, they are just the tip of the iceberg. They're backed by this massive hidden army on the ground.
For every single crew member in the air, there are dozens, if not hundreds of people on the ground making that flight happen. You've got the rostering team, basically human chess masters figuring out schedules. You've got engineering, making sure the plane is in perfect condition. In-flight services, designing the whole cabin experience, and of course, a dedicated safety department. It's a huge team effort.
Now, let's make this personal for a second. We all know what it feels like to be exhausted after a long day. So, could you perform a critical, life-saving task after being awake for almost 24 hours? The answer, for pretty much everyone, is a hard no.
And that's exactly why one of the most critical behind-the-scenes jobs is managing crew fatigue. These rules, called flight time limitations, are not just company policy. They are strict, legally binding safety regulations. They spell out exactly how long a crew can work and how much rest they absolutely must get, because we know for a fact that fatigue can lead to human error.
So when you put it all together, the full picture becomes clear. That flight attendant who greets you with a smile at the aircraft door isn't just there to serve you a drink. They are the final, crucial link in a massive chain of advanced technology, complex global regulations, and an enormous logistical team all working together for one single purpose: to keep you safe.
So, the next time you settle into your seat, listen to that safety briefing, and watch the crew prepare the cabin for departure, what are you going to see? Will you just see someone doing a job? Or will you see the hidden world of dedicated professionals, incredible engineering, and invisible rules that all have to come together perfectly to make your flight possible?